Young lady, hi.
I want to thank everyone for being here. We're just getting everybody registered. It's right at 6:31, so we're going to get started just a couple minutes late. So hope you guys can hang in there. Thank you.
Do you need any help?
Yeah, can you ask them, guide them to go sign it? All these,
Oh, please.
yeah, all of these. Oh.
Forget to sign in.
Oh, wait, you just missed two. Can you guys go sign in that way? Can you two go sign in? Yeah, there you go. There are seats up front. I don't bite. I don't even growl. So good evening. Thank you. Am I too loud? I sound really loud. Am I too loud? Okay. Okay. So thank you so much for coming. We are having two trainings. The beginning here is the general training. If you are also going to be for security, I thank you for your patience, but we will do the general training, then have a Q&A, and then do the security training. There are some new procedures this season. So everybody who said, oh, I've been here for years, but I thought I'd show up, glad you did. So thank you so much for coming. And as we did, one of the things we're going to do to try to speed this up so that we're mindful of your time since you do volunteer. We just want you to know that we're aware of that. We don't want to take a lot of your time more than necessary. So what we're going to do is you had pieces of paper you could grab, and there are some pens. So if you have any questions while I'm giving the presentation, jot it down, and then we'll do a 15-minute Q&A so we can address anything you might have. Sound good? So welcome. Thank you for coming out again. And let's see. And then that's our mission statement. We actually changed our mission statement this year, and because the other one was a little lengthy and it's the branding thing and do it all simple. So That is our new mission statement. We're a faith-based emergency shelter program. Many people call us a winter shelter, but because we start in November, that's when it's still fall. So that's why we say an emergency shelter program. And then sometimes we go all the way to the spring. So with 3 seasons, we thought that best. And then we want to make sure that people understand that we're helping people with homelessness in the greater Williamsburg area. So with that in mind, next slide, please. And so all the information that I'm going to present is in the training manual. Anyone who's not a key leader, that's a volunteer, if you are affiliated with a church organization, you will be able to get the training manual for them. If you're on your own, I should have already sent you the training manual. If not, you can either email me or email your leader and just ask them, how do I get the training manual? And they'll guide you through that. And next slide. Okay, why all the rules? I am doing this particular portion for the key leaders. Many times when you volunteer, sometimes your schedule is such that you give us that precious 4 hours that you can give us. And so we're so appreciative of that. But sometimes when you're only here for the 4 hours, you look at a situation, I don't understand why they acting like that. Why can't they just do this? So here are a few things, okay? For one, the guests, they can't go out to the vehicles. Once they come in, they can't go back out. I have had more challenges about that, thinking, what's the big deal? I've even had people go out for them. Here's the reason. You have no idea what's in their vehicle, okay? You have no idea what's really outside. So please understand, it's not for just the safety of the guest or you, it's also for the safety of everyone there. So that's why they can't go into their belongings once they've done it. And that's why for our security, when we get to that, it's so important when you're giving them the black bag, saying anything you need for the night, you need to take it out according to what you can and can't keep. Because once they put their bags away, they cannot go back in there. Why would we do that? Let me give you an example. Sally and Jane are at the bus stop. Jane has been just getting on Sally's nerves all day, and she's been up in her face, and she took her boyfriend, okay? So she said, you know what, I'm gonna take care of you. So she comes, they go to the shelter, and she looks at you, and she goes, I need my phone charged. I wanna call my grandbaby, and it's not even time to turn out lights. Can't you just let me go get it? Well, you good, the good Christian or good person that you are, you go, I can't see the harm in that. Well, guess what, underneath her charger is a knife. And she scoops it up without you seeing that, because she's going to take care of the girl who took care of her boyfriend. So it's a harsh thing to say, but that's what I'm just trying to make the point of, you don't know what's really going on. So that's why we have these rules. It's for your safety. It's for everyone's safety. Why don't we give out individual gifts, rides, or personal information? Well, think about it. If you give personal information, or if you give them rides, you're putting yourself in a situation that we cannot help you. And you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable situation. If you're not sure of what I mean, look up the movie, I Am Elizabeth Smart, okay? Her parents hired someone to come and do some work at the house, okay? Didn't know who they were a homeless person, and they helped them out. Am I saying all homeless people? No, I think the majority are harmless as can be, but you don't know, okay? So that's why. Why do no electronics after 10? But gosh, that guy is snoring. I just want them to be able to put their earbuds in so they don't have to hear that guy snoring or that lady snoring. Well, because we've had more fights after 10 o'clock because I decided I'm going to watch a little movie and I'm under the covers so nobody can see the light, but this movie's cracking me up and I'm laughing, okay? Or I'm getting angry at the movie and I got to make my voices about it. So now you're disturbing somebody else who's trying to sleep. So that is why we have earplugs. So as a volunteer, you think, oh, I don't want them to have to listen to it. We have earplugs, okay? If they cannot sleep, every single host site has an area where someone just can't sleep, they can go sit either in the hallway, something, and sit there. They can't turn their phone on because then we start that whole thing again, but they could read a book or anything like that, all right? Why don't we give out extra linens? This is something as a volunteer. Now, I just want you to know, I've broken every one of these rules when I was a volunteer. So I'm with you. I'm with you. That's why I know it so well. This one I did real well. Whenever somebody was cold, I was going to go get them a blanket. Guess what I didn't know? There are green sets of bins and pink sets of bins. Those other sets of bins, once the laundry is washed and put away, it's for the next week. Guess what Donnie did? She made sure that next week didn't have enough blankets. Okay, so that's why you don't do it. We only have, our trailer is not big enough to have hundreds of blankets. So we only have 40 for each. So once you give that away, you've taken away someone else's bedding. So that's why we don't do that. Check-in procedures, setup procedures, consistency. That's why we do what we do. So if you think that is really dumb, why do they do it that way? Then if you're not sure, let me know, because we have changed so many things based on feedback. So I love feedback. I am not so stuck in the mud that I say, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do it my way. No, I want to have feedback if there's something that we're missing. So please let me know that. But until then, just understand that what's happening where you're volunteering is happening at the next week and the next week and the next week. And the guests like consistency. I can guarantee you, if you don't do it consistent, how many key leaders and how many volunteers have said, well, they did it at the other church and you have to deal with that. So that's why we have the consistency. So with that in mind, thank you for letting me go through that, but that is, I was asked to do that because a lot of key leaders struggle with that. So I said, I'll take care, I'll do my part. Next slide. So the new thing this year is the security is going to be taking your temperature, okay? He's going to use, get it out. You guys remember this guy from last year? So the security is going to be doing that. Please don't fight him. Please don't say, I don't need that. I've checked, I'm fine. It's just something we're going to do. It's not going to be like last year. It's just a temperature check. They're going to just do an overall, hey, you know, have you been around anybody that's sick, or how you feeling today? So it's just a general thing. It's just so when we're walking in, all of us know everybody's been asked if they're okay. If you don't feel well, or if you're just getting over a cold, please don't try to get the perfect attendance record. Please stay home, okay? Please don't just call us. We will do what we can to work through the shift. Without you, we'll miss you, but we'd rather you keep your germs at home, okay? So just hope that you do that. Let's see. The other thing is masks are optional this season. We are strongly encouraging that you wear your mask, but we are not requiring it. However, there are several church sites that have decided to continue with the mask requirement. So if you are volunteering at that particular site, your key leader will let you know that. If you are one of my wonderful volunteers that is in the pool, then I will let you know those sites so that, well, actually, the host site will let you know. Just be sure if they haven't, please ask them so that you'll know and you won't be surprised when you get there. Let's see, think next. Generally speaking, okay. So generally speaking, there's a confidentiality form that you all have signed year after year after year, and it's this little guy. What I want you to know, though, is many times when you sign it, you sign one and then you look for a new one. That's what this blank is for, and the whole back page. Just keep signing it. We don't want to hurt a bunch of trees, okay? Just please just sign that. It's in the front every time. If you're like, well, I can't remember where I'm at, just look on this. Here's a schedule so you'll know, and it's all each week is listed. We also are having a new electronic sign-in, and so I'm going to go over that in just a second. The other thing is I want you to make sure that you put your name tag, only your first name. That's for your safety and security, okay? You don't want to put your last name. And if you forget, that's okay, just get another tag. And then you also don't show any guest information. When the police come or somebody else comes and says, hey, I was just wondering, is John Smith here? I can't confirm or deny that, but if you'd like to leave a message, if they're here, I'll be glad to give it to them. If an officer comes, go get the key leader, go get the shelter manager, okay, go get someone else if you're not sure. We never share the information. As far as police go, if they're doing a wellness check, we will bring that guest to them. If they have a warrant, we'll bring the police to them to get them, okay? So other than that, we don't hand them our laptop or the check-in book and have them look through it, okay? These guests some of them have had too many run-ins with the law, and so they're very leery. So we want to try to respect that as much as possible, but we love law enforcement. So we want to make sure we take care of them too. But they already know, we've had enough conversations that they know not to come in expecting that. So they understand that we try to keep privacy. Let's see. Oh, and on time, just, you know the deal. If you're not on time, then nobody's covering your shift. Okay, so the next slide, I think it goes to this, yes. So Ashley, my shelter manager back there, she helps me. She was helping me out. Thank you, Ashley. But anyway, she's created this. We have to help you out because this is new. Here's one place how to sign in. And here's another one. And if you're still not sure, here's another one. So you got plenty of places to figure out how to sign in. But I wanted to go ahead and show you on the left-hand side, when you turn this on, sometimes it should already be on the second screen, but just in case it's not, you're going to enter the password and it's going to, you're going to enter it and then you're going to hit that little next button right there. It's going to take you to this screen. It probably won't be that picture. If anybody has a computer and it's not a Mac, I don't know what Macs do, but on Windows, every time you turn around, it's a new picture showing it. So I don't know if it'll be that picture, but what you want to do is you want to go right down there and see with the little thing that says Google. You want to make sure you hit the Google. Next. It's going to take you to Google. And so you're going to go up there and in that little, there's a little house. It's a little home button. You're going to click that. We have this pre-programmed that once you click that, it's going to automatically go to our volunteer check-in form. You're going to want to click, and all you have to do is you start typing your name, tab. Type your name, tab. You keep doing that, and you're going to get down to where, I think it's the next slide, Tom. Yes, you're going to get down and see where it says time in and time out. Normally what we've done with volunteers is you sign in, and then at the end of your shift, we're like, don't forget to sign out, don't forget. You're going to go ahead and sign out at the same time. What you're going to do is log in what you came planning to work. So for instance, you worked 5 to 9. 9 o'clock comes and the other person who's supposed to relieve you is sick. And you said, you know what, that's okay, I'll stay till 1. Please go back and then log in again. And this time you're going to do a new shift. We need your time. The reason we need your times is when we're doing grants, we need to, and when we're doing 990s and everything else for our reporting for taxes and for grants, we have to tell them about how many hours. And when you don't do it, our wonderful intern who's hiding Micah is going to be stuck with guessing. So that's why we're hoping the electronic will help us out. So you go ahead and you do your in and out, and then you hit submit. And you'll see that on the left side, that's submit. That will take it back to the page to start all over. If you're like, oh my gosh, I hit the wrong time, it's okay. Clear the form. When you clear the form, it'll go back to the blank form, fill it out again. Okay. If you happen to accidentally close it out, it's okay. Then you're going to go back to that first screen that I showed you. All right. Next page. Okay. So the next thing we want to tell you that's different is our trailer has a new layout. And for the volunteers that don't ever help with unload, this might be, but it does help you understand all of that stuff that you see laid out everywhere is all inside this little tiny trailer. One of the things we do is because we have so many electronics now is it's been really tough carrying those totes. Has anybody had the joy of helping transferring the totes of the electronics? They're heavy. So yeah, I know when you have. And so we've gotten a rolling cart. Well, in order to get that cart in there, we had to rearrange the trailer. So in the event that you're ever one of those that did the trailer, please know it's laid out completely different now. It used to be the back was 2 rows of mats. It's not now. It's a first row of mats, and then they're also going off to the side. And where's Tracy? There's Tracy. Tracy, he is our trailer operations director. He and I get to have the experience of Saturday seeing if this little diagram becomes reality. So stay tuned, and because we don't know, we're hoping this is what happens. And also as I told you, remember I said they were pink and they were green? Okay, and that's what you do. You only unload the colors that you need for the week. And so also, if you happen to be one of the Sunday people and you said, I'm gonna help on Sunday, plan to help make up 25 bedding bags, okay, up to, depending what the key leader wants to do. So plan on doing that ahead of time, because then when the shelter opens, you're not scrambling to do that. The mats are the other thing this year that we've done for the last couple of years, and we're hoping to continue. You want to lay the mats out and they're going to stay there for the whole week. Some of the sites can't do that because that same place is their dining area. So if not, then you can't. But if so, whoever gets here on Sundays, help with doing that. And also help out the shelter manager and then also the dining, that up. Next slide. Okay, for the food people, what I want you to know, if you're a meal person, anybody here a meal person? Okay, if you're the meal person, please understand we're going to have a separate box for you with this temperature gauge in it and a little logbook for you. You're responsible for all of your folks because a lot of times the security volunteers are going to get here till like 5:15 and you may be here at 5. So we just decided if you're involved in food, if you're in charge of the food, you're making sure everybody's temperature and wellness is done. If you're not and you're a volunteer, just make sure somebody's checking your temperature and also just doing a general wellness. And so the other thing is the food leader is going to determine whether it's self-serve or pre-done. I mean, not self-serve, pre-made. There is no self-serve still. Please do not plan on having a buffet type of thing unless you have the volunteers to serve it. We want anything, like if you want to set up coffee, either have a volunteer make it for them or set it up in such a way that the guests are only touching what they are getting. All right, so, and also if you're doing meals, a lot of times we have guests that work. So you always want to check with the shelter manager and you want to say, hey, are there any late arriving guests? And most of the time, if they say, yeah, we have 3 people working, then you may want to do 4 meals because you never know what guests may show up that we don't know about. So you always want about 3. If there's at least that many working, then just do an extra one. And the other thing is the kitchen. We used to say it closes at 8. I wanted to change that to say by 8 because a lot of times you're done. And a lot of times you feel like you have to stay. Don't feel like that. Once you fixed everything, you've done what you've done, you've cleaned up, just you can go ahead and head out. Next. So that's it for the, that's not it for the food because we have the morning, but we're doing this by the shift. So the other thing is, this is something that I was asked about. It was brought to my attention, and I think it's very important to bring this to everyone's attention. Please don't assume that somebody walking in the door with sweatpants on, a sweatshirt and a backpack is a guest. Okay, I dress like that. Okay, and if I'm working late, I'm going to have a backpack because I got stuff in it that I'm going to do. Okay, so don't assume that they're a guest. All right, so please and even if they are a guest, either way, still you can be cordial and say, hi, good evening, how are you doing? And then just, my name's Donnie, and let them introduce themselves. And if you're still not sure, then you can just say, are you going to be volunteering with us or staying with us? And then that's fine, but just don't assume they're a guest. All right. And then you also want to make sure the shelter manager, a lot of times trying to hurry up and set up all the electronics. So you may say, hey, is there anything I can help with? They may say, I have one shelter manager, it worked real well for her. She said, give me 10 minutes. It gave her that time to set up what she needed, and then she could then share with you what else was going on. So just let them guide you. And the roamer, so the roamer just, I'm sorry, with the bags and everything, how many people have been with us for a long time when you used to hold the bags? Yeah, okay, we don't do that anymore. Okay, it has been voted upon. We actually voted and I sent out a survey and it was a 100%. The few things that were 100%, this was one of them. They were the guests to bag their own stuff. So the security is giving them the bag. They are filling it up and putting everything in it. All right. The thing that the security is going to do is they're going to be looking to make sure that whatever they're hanging on to is what they're allowed to hang on to. So we do no longer have to do this. So the roamer and the person checking in, all they need to do is once that person checks through and the shelter managers give them the okay, you're just going to be guiding them to where the bags are being stored. All right. Please make sure you don't leave the shelter manager alone. When I was a shelter manager, I used to get left alone all the time. I'd have to go to the bathroom, I'd be hungry, and I'd be sitting there. So just remember, if you're working the check-in, just ask, hey, do you need anything? Or I'll be right back, but don't disappear and not come back. The other thing that I ask the volunteers to do is once the guests are finished and it's time for the bedding, once they give out the bedding bags and everything, you don't touch the bedding bags. You'll have them numbered. The guests will get them themselves. Once you do that, then you want to wipe down all the tables and the chairs with a disinfectant. If you're just running behind and you can't, then we'll pass it off to the 9 o'clock people that come. But either way, we want to make sure that area is cleaned off. The other thing we're doing this year is whoever's helping with check-in around the 8 o'clock time when there's a smoke break or whatever, once they get their bedding, you have a piece of blue tape with a marker. You're going to want to go to with the guests and just go, hey, which bed have you chosen? Oh, number 3, John. That's what you're going to do. Number 3, John. And you're going to tape that at the end of the bed. And then that way, every time John comes back, that's where he's staying. It just helps reduce cross-contamination. And he'll stay. Now, say John doesn't come back on Tuesday. All right. Well, nobody's going to stay on that. It's still John's bed. If John doesn't come back on Wednesday, we take his tag off and then we let someone else have it. That gives it 2 days of being disinfected. So there's a pretty good chance there's nothing left on it. Next. All right. So now we've finished. So that's pretty much it for that. Overnight. Split shift. So people who volunteer are in my pool. You can do a 9 to 2 or a 2 to 6. Other places, they have people all night. I don't care which way you do it, just as long as people the shifts get covered. Those, again, that's the tables I was talking about. You want to clean up. And also it's the shelter rules. Like I said, you want to make sure all electronics are off by 10 to keep peace. And so any kind of incident that happens, like if it's a incident that you think merits, like if somebody's just grumbly, all right, they're just grumbly. But if they're screaming and yelling and they're like, I hate this place and, and I'm kicking chairs and stuff, that's an incident. Okay, that needs to be listed and you need to just say, hey, so guest number 42 was really upset tonight. He kicked the chair. Issue needs to be addressed. The shelter manager is going to address it. And if it escalates further than that, I'll address it. And again, as I said, the electronics are off. Please make sure you circulate. There was a incident where a guest got up and was stealing another guest's phone and was doing other things. It took about a 20-minute cycle because no one walked through there. So just remember to about every 15 minutes, you just kind of wander. You don't have to go and look at them, but you just kind of wander and peek in. If they know, then they have a tendency not to do any of that. Anyone who's doing intake, you have a new guest come between 10 and 1. We do not have a shelter manager during that time. We have added a shelter manager, yay, from 1 to 7 instead of 2 to 7. So now, if you're doing that 9 to 1, and then you leave, or you're doing the 1 to 5, and you're there at 1, and then the shelter manager comes and says, so how'd it go? You're clueless because you've only been there an hour. So now there won't be any of that. So the shelter managers will be there, but you will have that 10 to 1. That's the time when the evening shelter manager is going to be going over intake forms and all that. Please pay attention to that because you're going to be having to fill out those forms. On Thursdays or Fridays, if you volunteer then, just be aware there might be laundry that you'll need to be counting and sorting. You know those bins I told you about that I used to go into? That's where all that laundry is going to go. Next. Okay, last thing for the meals. With the morning, you're going to have 2 to 3 volunteers. You can do the breakfast either way. Coffee should be made by overnight or in the morning, whichever one works for you. Please note that the guests must put their bedding up. They can't say, oh, I'll come back and get it. No, no, no. Well, they don't. You need to have that package and then put aside where our designated bedding area is. On Sundays, that's when, I don't know if anybody done Sunday breakdowns? Okay, on Sunday breakdowns, you used to have to take their bags and separate them and all that. We don't do that anymore. What we do is on Sunday morning, whoever is there at the 5:30 or the overnight people, the shelter manager is going to start having bags set up. And there'll be areas, and there'll be your flat sheets, your fitted sheets, your blankets, your pillowcases. And the guest has to break their own bedding down and put it in that bag so that we don't have to touch any of that until it's time to haul it into the trailer. You're going to want to make sure the kitchen area and the breakfast area is cleaned up before you take, and also it's important to take all the trash out because we won't be back until 6 at night. So we don't want anything that's in their food sitting there for 12, 14 hours. And you hand out the lunches, tell them to have a great day. Next. Okay, checkout. One of the things you want to do, has anybody worked morning shifts? Okay, in checkout, what you used to do is people would say, I got to go to work. I need my bag. and you run and get it. We don't do that. What you do is you'll have a printed sheet and you also have a shelter manager with you. And the shelter manager is usually busy doing some other things. So you may have a printed sheet. You're going to go to the place where the belongings are kept, and they're going to say, I'm guest number 25. You're going to look and make sure they only pick up number 25. And then they're going to head out. You're going to mark down how many bags they took, and then they go on their way. You don't have to touch anything. And then you just want to make sure, work with the shelter manager, see if they need any help putting all the electronics away and everything, so that all of that is secured and put away for the day. Next. If you're one of the ones who thank you, that hang in there on Sunday morning, help load up the trailer. It's the trailer manual we'll have, once we figure out that it works, we're going to have pictures and update the manual. And it has, so if you're not sure, there'll be a manual inside the trailer. You load it up, you always put your empty bins that you've been using in first. And then you'll load the other ones, the ones you just folded the night before. And then you'll put all the other things where the light blue area is. You're going to put things there, and then you're going to put the dirty linens where the green area is, and all the mats go where the orange area is. The next slide. This, I just wanted to say, I sent all of the key leaders a general guide. I want every volunteer to have that to look over. A lot of it answers the questions and concerns that you have. It says what the leaders are supposed to do, what a guest is expected, what a volunteer is expected. It's a couple of pages long, but it really does give you a general idea of the procedures. So if you gave the email to Wilmarie, when you checked in, thank you. When Ashley was helping out, she didn't have enough on the paper to do it. So if you didn't give up your email, please give it when you leave so that we can email you that guide, just in case you didn't get it from your key leader. Okay. And that is it for it. Aren't you proud of me? I'm trying to keep this down to record timing. I know I went really fast, but it's just, I wanted to give a general, and we can break this down. And so I want to spend the next few minutes, any kind of questions that you might have that I can answer. Yes, Kathy. Oh, hold on. Wilmarie, can you get the microphone? No, that's okay. You stay right there. We got a microphone. And if there's any questions on Zoom, please present them, and Ashley will let me know.
Some of our guests not willing to put masks on, not keeping them. Is there some procedure you have in place to not being able to find about wearing them? They say no, and they don't. We of course we have the. You don't know. We're not.
So we are not making the mask mandatory this year. They're not mandatory at every site. So the sites that are mandatory, exactly what you said, you will let them know. If they refuse, you do what you just said. You'll turn it over to the shelter manager and they will handle it from there. Yep, that's all you have to do. Please, volunteers, but it's a great point. One of the things Kathy's bringing out is when you have that conflict, part of it is our security volunteer is having training, but also our shelter managers. Please don't feel like you have to take that upon yourself and resolve it all. Now, if you've had training in it, that's one thing, but please don't feel like you have to just go, okay, I tried, and then just go straight to the shelter manager. Yes, and it should have already been called. What was that?
Repeat the question.
Okay, yes, okay. Okay, so your first question was whether what you do if they don't wear a mask. And so I had said you can turn it to the shelter manager. Your second question was if they're sick. So if they're sick, the security should have called it, but sometimes they lie and they're holding back their call. So at that point, then if you notice that, then we will immediately try to, you'll go to the, just always go to the shelter manager for that, because they're going to be your ally with that. Because if there's any kind of conflict resolution, you never want to approach it single-handedly anyway, not without the help of the shelter manager. Okay, next. Hey, Bill. Okay. All right. So first question was asked is, are the volunteers going to be doing electronic check-in? And the second question was, are there going to be more than one laptop? So my goal is to train volunteers so that they can go to various sites. I would love, my goal is that I should have a group of volunteers who help us with intake and check-in. Until we get that group, the shelter managers will be doing all the electronic check-in. The volunteers will be beside them doing all of the other things that the shelter manager just cannot do without help. So there will not be any volunteers doing the electronic check-in. If there is somebody that you know that is very good with electronics and is very well aware and wants to become one of those volunteers, please have them come see me. I'll give them my email address, whatever. I really would love to start training, because it would allow the shelter manager to then go and take care of other situations, and knowing that they can walk away from that and have somebody else check it in. Because if not, you can blow up my database, and that would not make me very happy. So we don't want that to happen. I need that database for all kinds of stuff and reports. So it gets backed up every night, but it can get blown up during that night, and I don't want that to happen. So the laptops, there will be a separate laptop for the volunteer sign-in. Now, if you do have somebody who's computer savvy, that you could have them at the volunteer thing to help people, because it's going to be very hard for the shelter manager to be there helping them sign in and trying to help get the check-in desk prepared. So, but there will be two separate laptops for that. Any other questions? Yes.
I signed up to serve dinners, not to stay overnight, but I don't, unless I missed something, I didn't hear anything. I had signed up to serve dinner, but not to stay overnight. Did I miss something on dinner? Because I didn't really use that. Breakfast, lunch.
No, the meals were right. So go to shift 1, where it was the servers in the kitchens. It's from 5:30 to 8:30. And that's when you're serving those. Now, if you're packing lunches, so the question was, she's doing meals, and she said, and she wasn't sure that it was addressed. And did you go back? Yeah, there you go. And so if you're doing lunches are based on however the key leader wants to set it up. Sometimes if you're willing to work overnight, you'll be making sandwiches and things like that overnight, because at 3 in the morning, and I did a lot of overnights, you kind of need something to keep you awake. So making those sandwiches helps keep you awake. If you're fixing the dinners, then you're going to get there around 5:30, and then help serve them. Does that answer your question?
And the other question is, I didn't realize it's either Stay over. So if they come in the morning, they stay here.
So good question. The question was, and the reason I'm repeating the question is because people with Zoom can't hear you in the audience. So the question was, if someone is to come, she understands that they come at night, check out in the morning, but if someone were to come, say like 8 or 9 o'clock, when everybody's got to be checked out by 7, do they just kind of hang out here all day? No. Part of our agreement with host sites is they work with us from 6:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. After that, it becomes church property. So anybody that was here would be trespassing. So they need to not be on the property at all during that time. There are various places they can go. They can go to the library, they can go to the bus station, they can go to any of the warming stations, any of the rec centers in James City County, Williamsburg, or York County they can go to during the day. They can go sit in the waiting room at the hospital. So there are places they can go. Of course, you got Walmart and Target and all that places too.
The comment about that is people have to take it long.
Yeah, so the statement was that people have to take their belongings when they exit. Yes, that's true. We are not a storehouse because if I decide that I'm a guest and sometime during, I said, oh, I don't want to lug all these bags around. And you say, that's okay, you can leave them here because you want to be a good volunteer. And then I go and I meet up with a friend and they say, hey, you want to go out of town for the weekend? Yeah, that sounds good to me. And then it moves to the next church on Sunday and I'm not back in town yet. Okay, so now what are you going to do with those belongings? And so, no, you never, when the guest leaves, they take their belongings. Yes. Oh, great question. Great question. Yeah. So the question was the 5:30 to 8, is that the time that people can eat? Or is that the time people are doing the meals? Is that their shift? This is your shift. This is the meal preparer shift. The time that's food is because if you're deciding to prepare the meal on site, you need that time. Dinner is normally served at 7 p.m. And so from 7 to 7:30 is when they're eating. Sometimes, people come in about 7:20, but usually around 7:30, you want to start wrapping up. That's about the time that whoever is doing the meals is starting to prepare those 3-4 extra meals. And then you're starting to wipe down and clean up. So great question. I'm sorry, I had a really hard time understanding you. Okay. Oh, okay. Trailer transfer. Okay, Tracy is our trailer director of trailer operations. So he has a copy of every church transfer and who it's going to. So if he wants to comment on that, but as far as COFM and generally speaking, you work that out. That's why you get that trailer transfer. You have, and are you in agreement with this, Tracy? You have the person before that has it, and then you have who's it going to. So it's up to you to reach out to that person before and see what they say, and it's up to you to reach out to the person who's getting it and see what you can work out. There are some churches that get it at 8 in the morning. Soon as the guests leave, they pack it up and it's there. Other people are like later in the afternoon, 1 or 2. Yes, so you work that out. Any other questions? Any Zoom questions? Nope. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so to finalize, what I'd like you to do is, if you don't mind, I would like to have Micah, Will Marie, Ashley, and Sean, if you don't mind just stepping forward. I just would like all of you volunteers to see who our shelter manager and interns are for this year. The only one that's missing. Oh, well, she snuck in and I didn't see her. And thank you. Good to see you. So if you can come up on stage so they can see you, it's okay. Don't make me stay up here all by myself. Okay, so I'd like to introduce you. This is Sean. He has, the nice experience he has is he does bouncer. Will Marie, she has been with us, as anybody might remember her, she was with us, and then her husband serves our country, and so he traveled and she refused to stay with me. I've forgiven her and let her come back now that her husband's here. And this is Micah, she is our intern, and she is currently, they call it something different now. Virginia Peninsula College. So she's going to that college right now, but you'll see her zipping around taking pictures, and she may be asking you questions. She takes care of all our media posts and everything else. And this is Miss Ashley, and she is our overnight, oh, and so is Sean. Sean and Ashley are our overnight shelter managers. You'll be seeing them from 1 to 7. So if you think, I've never seen them, it's because you're not here overnight. And then last is Tamika, who snuck in on me. I didn't even know she was here. Well, I didn't see you. She's fussing with me. But anyway, she and Will Marie are our evening, so you'll probably see them more often than anyone else. So these are, so please, can you welcome my new crew? Thank you, guys. Thank you. I just got fussed at. All right, so if there are no more questions, that concludes. And then whoever's doing security, if you would stay back, we'll go through that and we'll try to go just as quickly. But I want to thank all of you guys. If there's no more questions, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you December 4th. Thank you. And make sure you give Will Marie your email address if you did not give it when you came in.
I've done so many things. So, I mean, last year I was at the motel outside. But I've done check-in as well. And I've also, I guess I've also done security too.
So it's got my mics.
I've also done security at some.
If you want to stay,
yeah,
because if you do,
I'm not, our church isn't doing it, so I'm gonna be available to go to wherever you need me, where you don't have enough help.
I don't know. I don't know how to turn it off.
Wherever, I'm just saying, I'll be just waiting to hear from you, just tell me that you.
Well, you'll be here because I'm going to sit with them, but we're not doing any hotel. We might do hotel staff. Okay, but I don't do that. So you're choice. But there is definitely different.
We have difficulty, well.
Right, that's why I think you should.
I will.
Yes, I think my question.
With a 2-liter contract in mind, I don't want to go church.
Yes, so if you put, did I put you on my volunteer list? Did you email me?
Yes, it did say so.
Or did you email me saying that you can volunteer? Did you say what shift you could help out?
I said I wanted to do no shit.
Okay, so I put you, what you email?
Sunday, correct. G-U-R-E,
No.
so I indicated that I was interested in doing dinner.
I'll make it info. INFO.
I don't hear for you, so I am.
Dot. Info.
I am here.
INFO. Yep. Yep, pretty similar.
Okay, C-O-F-R. Okay, so you never heard from me. Is Donnie. Okay. I got things from you, but I got you heard back from me.
Just shoot an email and I'll send you an email if you get it tonight and then I'll get it in the morning.
The other question is, where would I get on one of the matters?
So I'll email it. It's online. You don't have to print it if you don't want to. And if you do print it, make sure it's two-sided because it's only 60 pages, but if you don't, you're gonna get 100 points.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, when you email me, make some print.
And then one other thing is, you said some of the meals would be brought in. Where would they go in from?
That's all up to you. That's what I'm saying. Some of them will say, we're gonna prepare everything off site. Others want to cook the dinner on. That's all up to you.
And so again, who buys the food or how is the food obtained?
That's all up to you. Yep. I don't get into those. things.
And how much in advance can we go for people to sign up for given days?
So it all depends. Like right now, I know that there's some people, but I tell you what, if you want to, you walk around here, his church is new, with the t-shirt. Like, he is, Newtown United Methodist. I know they very good. I know that's one, but make sure you put on the destination of the church, right?
Yeah. And, okay, so, and then when you, is there the expectation you do the day for readers?
Okay. You know, I don't have any readers.
Thank you.
I'm North Bay, yeah.
You like know her, but
I mean, not with you. I can get it.
I have an initial community, and then I have another. So I include between like the one. Well, there's a four, and then I'll be going to take the first.
Trying to get a specific time, smart time. So, two? Well, yeah, I'll just, okay.
So you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say, hey, let's do Thursday, just like I would forget,
Okay,
because we're doing this, I'm in this mode.
I got it. Totally. And that, well, see, my boss and I'm like, well, again, a lot of these are donated, but like, do you have to do anything with like personal policies? Excuse me. You have to- So like, do you that would provide those, just they don't do like for cash. So if you want to no, if you want to, yeah, it's gonna donate. Would you want something like use clothing? So I know that some of the places have. Yes. Yes. And then I'll bring it. I would bring what we have because I know that you would like those gets weird because then you have the sizes. And some of the places.
Don't need it.
Okay.
But I don't need, you know, the two, tickets, when you start doing that, it gets.
We'll see that. That's
So,
why
yeah,
it's
let's not do that.
okay.
Because I'll wind up taking everything together.
Right. Okay. And then I first do overnight. And so I'm cool with, you know, if somebody's like another church needs someone. But in the past, Rick would let me know and I can cover it. And I am working now, so I have a little bit, I'm not always gonna say yes. But I know that like in the past, I thought you had said, you know, look, could we, like, we want to sign up to be on a list if people are having trouble.
Oh, that's what we say, sign up. What I do is I send to all the people.
Okay.
And they send out their, I don't have anybody for this.
Okay, so, yeah, what just, do I just send you a text? Yep. Text email, okay.
Hey, sorry, I just, let me click here. where I-
The 2 years, I usually. And, so the practice is done now, different years. 2 years. It can be all maybe before
So,
then.
did you have anything when we talked about your?
No, I don't even, but I usually sign up at my church,
Mhm.
so I don't know what, you sign.
New Zone, okay.
So how do I do
New
this?
Zone is teaming up with, oh, Smith Memorial. So you have key leaders. Can you send me an email and I will reach out to the key leader? Yep. So here's my, email me at Donna, D-O-N-N-I-E,
Indian?
I-E, Hines, H-I-E-S.
Oh, you were.
Mhm. That's at COF. Dot info. Just like info, I don't know. And so just tell me, say, hey, I was there. I just need to know, let me know who's in charge of who's on it. And I'll put you in contact with them so you can get set up for overnight.
Okay, and you know what they do the course for?
Yes, I do. Smith Memorial is January the 29th to February the 5th.
January 29th.
And February 5th.
Oh, yeah, it is a little different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do share in the heart.
Uh-huh. Okay, sorry about that, folks. So we're gonna get ready to do the security training. All right. So thank you for sending, now since a lot of you, is there anybody that just walked in just for the security training? Cool, we get to skip about 8 slides then. All right, great. So Todd, if I can get you. Todd. Again, we're going to do the same setup, no questions. Let me get through all of it. Then if you have any questions, we'll do that. Got that? Yep. Okay. Next, we can skip over this because all of you guys have already been here. So one of the things we want to know is there's going to be 3 areas we're going to cover: safety, security, and then overcapacity. All right. And so the next thing, let me get to my thing and actually know what I'm doing. So one thing I want you to understand that security, for years, COFM has always had a security person. It hasn't been until the last 4 years that I've really been pushing hard to stress the importance of security. A lot of people think, oh, I just given out the little cards. And it's not that. We really need security to be our extra eyes and ears and to watch out and see things. So it's really important. We are a low barrier, but we're not a no barrier. And we know that people who are homeless, I mean, they're struggling. I mean, think about it. They're not having a good time right now. And so because of that, we know there's a lot of alcohol and drug issues and stuff. So if somebody's had a beer on the way, are we going to tell them no? Of course not. But if they're really intoxicated, I don't know if anybody has seen somebody really get drunk, but you can walk in and somebody can down, you know, a bunch of alcohol just before they walk in the door, and they seem okay, but then within 20 minutes, it's all really going downhill. So, but the thing is if they down that, what are you going to usually smell? So it's going to be pretty strong. So that's why it's really important, or if they seem really high or disoriented, the security is going to be our first defense against protecting all the other volunteers, the staff, and the other guests. So you're so valuable. And I just want you to understand that it's not just stick a human there to just say security. It's just people who want to take that and say, you know what, I want to walk with COFM and make sure that the layout and the site is safe for everybody for the evening. Okay, next slide. The other thing is that you want to make sure the restrooms are set up. We have had guests that have come in, then there's somebody here that can witness to that, and they take the trash can liner, move it aside, drop their alcohol in it, put it back. Now they have their drinks for the evening. Okay, that's why we need security, because they're going to go in and do that. They're going to go through there, make sure there wasn't anything left overnight, or there isn't anything just as check-in starting. And so just things like that throughout the night. Also, the other thing is we never try to take the law into our own hands.
In the event that we see something, we're going to call 911. All right, evening security, I'm going to jump right into this. Here's what a lot of you may not realize, but an evening security person, they're going to get there around 5 o'clock, 5:15. And you're going to, as soon as you get there, you want to take on the mode, okay, let's make sure this place is ready for action. So you're going to want to go through, you're going to want to make sure the carbon monoxide monitors, now most places have them built in now, but in case, ask. You want to do that. We've added the air purifiers, the hand sanitizers. You want to make sure they're out and available. If they're not, then just say, hey, hey, Tamika, hey, Wilmarie, where are the hand sanitizers? They just might have forgotten to put them out. So you just want to do that. Mask, even though they're not mandatory, we always want to have the mask out available for anybody. And especially if someone does come in and they seem feverish, we don't want to just say, hey, you can't come in here. We want to make sure that they can either get to a hotel or they can get to wherever they need to go, a friend, whatever, a family member. So we want to make sure masks are available, and all that. Signage, make sure that there's signage everywhere, because if not, then you have guests coming in, they don't know what's the sleeping area, what's not, where the bathrooms are, or anything like that. The designated sleep areas are for men and women. There's been questions about that because in society today, there seems to be debates about that. For most of our churches, we're set up, it's men and women. In the event that there's enough issue, you'll go to the shelter manager and talk to them about it. We will try to work something out. And also, please make sure your volunteers area is a secure area where the valuables can be put aside and other people can't see it. Next slide. All right, and so I shared with you, you're going to be doing the temperature check. Okay, what I want you to do is it's just a simple, how many use this? How many is familiar with it? Okay, so you push the button, it does a beep, 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 and you hold it up there, you push on it, and then it tells you. You don't put it against their head. I will tell you this, you're gonna be challenged with outside with the guests. Do the best you can. You're gonna get a temperature of 67, you're gonna go, this stupid thing doesn't work. Yes, it does, it's just picking up all the cold air around you. And so, but it just is what it is. We do the best we can. So you're just going to do, and that's why your key of doing that general, okay, they just, they got a lot of sneezing going on. They got a lot of weepy. It might be allergies, but you know what? We're not doctors, so we're just going to stop it right there. So also capacity. This is one thing that I know we don't push. I don't know what's going to happen this year. I will tell you that Newport News opened their shelter the first week on day 7. They'd already had 103 different guests come through. They generally have 400 to 500 through the season. They'd already had over 100 just the first week. So I don't know what's going to happen this year because I did that one year. We had 1 guest. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just saying in the event we do get a lot of guests, especially since we're starting so late, it could go anyway, either way. But you want to always make sure you check with the shelter manager, go, hey, where are we with capacity? They go, you know what? We've had 25 guests last night. We can't take anybody new tonight. So when you're talking to the people, if you say, hey, were you here last night? Nope. Did you tell them right then and there? We're not sure if we're going to have room. We're going to, so just be aware of that. But don't give up yet. Wait till everybody checks in. I'll go over the overcapacity, later. But anyway, make sure, like you said, observing guests for any issues. The black plastic bags, in the past, you had the volunteers doing that. What you're going to be doing now is everybody who's here, if you're also a key leader, please make sure you get the black plastic bags that have the pool tie. Don't get those great big tall leaf bags. And so what you're going to do is you're going to be handing that to them. And you're also going to have little shower bags, little white bags, only if it's a shower night. If it's not a shower night, do not give them out. You're also going to be having 2 of the signs, what you can keep, and also the different types of coats. And so as you're handing those bags out, you're just talking, hey, how you doing tonight? Hey, can I check your temperature? Oh, what is your name again? John. Okay, John, how you feeling tonight? Johnny, you're okay. It's that kind of thing. Just by spending those couple of seconds, you're going to get a wellness idea. You're going to get whether they're intoxicated or high. You're going to get a feel, or they may be having a seizure. They may be having a diabetic episode. We never know. But you spend that time and you don't have to go, all right, what's your name? Give me your temperature. You don't have to do that. It's not necessary. And so you just get a general feel, it's just general conversation, but you're picking up what information you need. And so you're going to do that. You also let them put their stuff in it and that items, what you can keep. If you study that, you'll get a feel of what they can and can't keep. If not, just hold it with you and just look at it. And they're going to have a clear tote that they're given on the first night that they check in. And that tote is what they can have. If you see it jam-packed, just say, hey, John, you know what? You got a lot of stuff in there. I know the shelter manager is going to stop you and tell you to put it right back in your bag. So let's see if we can clear that out. The only exception is there's some guests that take a lot of meds. And we don't allow them to put them in pill boxes because we don't know really what that is. So we need to see the original container. So if they have a lot of meds, that's when the bag might be full. Other than that, try to get them to clear it out. They're only going to be in there for 12 hours, okay? They don't need but so many things, okay? They need their phone, they need their meds, they need maybe their cigarettes, cigarette lighter, some earbuds, a book. That's really about all they need. They're not going to get a change of clothes, so they don't need that. And like I said, if in the event you think somebody's posted, you want to go to the shelter manager, what they're going to do is you're going to go to an area that's away from the audience, and then you're going to do a sobriety test. The shelter managers have been trained on sobriety, so you're going to be there as a witness. You're going to be there with the phone. In the event that it escalates, you need to call 911. It doesn't happen very often, but it has happened. Next. And we get to skip these because you were here. All right, general policies. Please note that literally half of our churches said they wanted a wait room. The other half said they still want people to stay outside until it's time to check in. It's totally up to the churches. So just remember, we don't check in until 6:30, okay? If they choose to have a waiting area, they can come in at 6. Just understand as a security, you're going to be in that area making sure things are in order. Somebody says, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, okay? And this happened at this church. Somebody took a little bottle of alcohol and stuffed, there's the way their toilet paper rolls are, they stuffed it right inside there. And then they were drunk later on. So if somebody goes to the bathroom, make sure that somebody's checking it. If you're a male and you need a female, just grab a volunteer, tell them to go in there and check the bathroom. From 8 to 8:15, this is a biggie. It causes me a ton of issues sometimes. But from 8 to 8:15 is a smoke break. That means that as the security, 7:55, 7:57, you go, hey, smoke break in 3 minutes. If you plan on smoking, I need you to go out here because policy is you go out as a group and come in as a group. But go ahead and make that known because here's what happens. 8 o'clock, you have 5 guests that go out with you. There's 2 other guests that are sitting there busy talking and they're like, oh, let me go out and get my smoke break. Well, you're already outside and now they're just kind of free to, we don't want that. So they go out as a group, they come in, but you need to make that presence known because what happens is if you just go, hey, we're going to go for a smoke break and they don't hear it, then I can't really fault the guest. Also, once they're outside, like say here at this particular church, for example, their smoke area is right there at the door off to the left. They can see the front door and they can see the guests. So if a guest has finished smoking, they can come back in. But but there's another church that you have to literally go outside and walk down. You can't see that front door. So if you cannot see the entrance and your group, they go out as a group and come in as a group. It's for your safety and your security because you do not know what they hid outside while they were waiting. So you just don't want that to happen. They go out together. Make sure you check the bathrooms frequently, as I said, for those particular reasons. Also, please ensure that the doors are locked by 9. Some churches have automatic doors that lock. Don't depend on that. Go check it. We've done that. We thought that before and the back door was ajar. So always make sure you check at 9 to make sure everything's secure. We had one place, it wasn't, the man came in, he was incredibly intoxicated. They actually had to call the police to help get him. And it was just because they didn't make sure the door was shut at 9. So you just want to make sure the door is shut at 9. Next. Please remember that if a guest does leave, they cannot come back until the next night. Okay, you can't, even if they say, I just got to run out to the car for a minute. We've already had that discussion earlier. You know why that they don't. They can't do that. And then there's other things during night, if think about it, you're outside, you're cold, you've been walking all day, or sitting in a bus or whatever, and you're tired and your body's aching. You need some Tylenol. We have those things. We have OTC meds. And we also have Band-Aids. We have cough drops. We have a lot of stuff. But only the key leader, the executive director, the shelter manager, or the shift leader can give those out. It's a liability issue. So let's not put ourselves in any kind of situation that we don't want. So just let them take care of that. If you're there and you're not in one of those positions and somebody said, you know, you're security and you're sitting there kind of observing and somebody just looks in pain, go, well, go up and get some Tylenol. Next. Here's the items you can keep, okay? And so this is what you will have. Just please be familiar with it. If it's not on this list, it's not in that bag, okay? So it's just that simple. We used to have a what you can keep and what you can't keep. Then it was like, well, what about this? And it was a shelter manager's suggestion to me at the end of the season. And he said, why don't we just have one list of what they can keep? And if it's not on that list, I was like, good idea. So we adopted that. Next. From 5:30 to 8, the security volunteer, a lot of times you don't have a designated security. So key leaders, if you don't have a designated, that's fine. But whoever's in the morning, one of you are going to be acting as security with the shelter manager. We do have the shelter managers now, so they will be taking that role as much as a volunteer. You just want to make sure things are smooth. When you tell the guests they want to get their bags, they're heading out the door, you take them to the door, you say, hey, I hope you have a great day. They have their lunch, everything, and then they're leaving the property. We don't want them going and sitting down and, you know, and doing all the other things. Now, if it's 5 o'clock and they just wanted a cigarette and they're leaving for the day, that's one thing. But at 7, everybody should be off property. Next. Guest confidentiality, we've already talked about that. We talked about that before. Like I said, it's just really important that you do not give out the guest information, but it's just, and we can't think of every situation that comes up. So you just kind of use your common sense. But as I said, if an officer comes and says, we're doing a wellness check, and we've had that happen because people just disappear and they wind up at the shelter. They may have memory issues. They may be running away, you know, just running away from a bad situation. You know, just various reasons. When they do that, we go get them and say, hey, you know, George, can you come up front? There's just somebody wants to check on you, make sure you're okay. Take them up there, they talk, whatever they need to do, and you just stay out of that. If they have a warrant, because I'm not sure what that warrant's for, I don't want to get involved. We had a situation last year where they had a warrant and the guests wanted to fight them. So it was good that they went because they immediately took care of it and within seconds they were out of there. So if they have a warrant, we take the police officer to the guest. The other thing, we don't have the check-in binder, but we do have it during the night. And that's when police will come in. And so if you have overnight folks, please let them know that you don't leave that book open for everybody just to view. Okay. Next. These I'm just going to go, we're going to just kind of flip through kind of fast. These are just signs. When I told you want to go in and you want to make sure that all the signs are up, you want to make sure there's no smoking, you want to make sure there's a designated women's area, a designated men area. That's for sleeping, by the way. The no men beyond this point, you would think you may want to have one for no women at this point, beyond this point. But generally speaking, the women's will be a smaller area. So then they may be back further down the hallway or something. Okay, so then the next, these are just the general things we've already talked about, just bringing it home, is make sure that the volunteers, when you're there doing security, you're checking the temperature, say we got a new electronic sign in, go on in there, make sure you sign in, make sure you only do your first name. Okay, we need you to help us, be our partner with that. Anybody who's a teen, volunteer belongings need to be secured. And if there's a teen, if they're under 16, if they're under 16, they shouldn't be in the shelter at all unless they're as a group. Like we have a lot of youth groups who want to come in. They may come in to sing. They may come in to help serve meals. I'm okay with that as long as they're not interacting with the guest. If they're 16, they have to have adult 18 and over who will be responsible for them. I'll give you an incident. We have 16-year-olds and the guests want to chit chat with them. Okay, that's not going to happen. We actually had it to where they were younger, and we did have the 18-year-old, but the 18-year-old was their Bible study leader, and they were all sitting at the table chit-chatting with the guests. And lo and behold, I get called over and it said, you might have a problem here. They're all sharing each other's social media contacts. I'm like, what? So we had to, so that's why there's just an innocence that, thank God, we still have some innocence left, but you just want, so that's why if it's a 16 or to 18, they have to have an adult supervised that's a responsible adult with them the whole time. And then, as I said, you don't have people who aren't supposed to be back in the belongings bag or anything. Don't let them back there. We don't need, and guests never go in the belonging bag area except to drop their stuff off or to pick it up. They're never allowed to wander back there. And please don't adopt anybody. Please share with your people. You want to talk to somebody, you think, I want to help them out. I'll volunteer again, guilty of it. I did it and I had to, I saw the results of it. I wasn't physically in danger, but there's a saying that the well of the needy never run dry. So when you help someone, they help and they help and you help and you'll help. Instead, refer them somewhere where maybe you can volunteer, but also you don't want them knowing your personal information. That was about the only smart thing I did, was I didn't tell them where I lived, but I went and picked them up. I took them to their storage unit. I helped them move, and it got ugly. So I learned that from personal experience. So like I said, anything wrong that a volunteer could have done, I did. And so I understand. The heart's there and my common sense wasn't. So please don't ever try to help people. Don't touch them. You don't know if they have any kind of PTSD and that touch may trigger something. So just don't help them. You might want to say, but they need help getting their coat on. No, don't do it. And so please don't let them use your phone, because if they call someone, guess what that person now has? Your phone number. So please don't let them use your phone. And please, because of PTSD, you never touch them to wake them. Always keep a safe distance, at least 3 or 4 feet, so they're out of the swinging way when you try to wake them. Next. And I already shared about the families, so we talked about that earlier, so we're going to skip that. And then this is where if you start getting conflict, you're going to be in control of that. So you keep your voice calm. You don't raise your voice. They're yelling. You don't try to yell. It's not a contest of whoever yells the loudest wins. Okay. You're going to escalate the situation. The other thing is, if you've ever noticed when things go bad, is people would love an audience. So when you have somebody agitated and they have a bunch of people around, they need to put on a show. So let's not do that. Make sure that you'd say, you know what, why don't we come over here and talk? I can't hear you as well there, so let's come on over here. Get them away from the audience. If they just will not calm down, you have the shelter manager there. One of you is going to be calling 911. Don't ever think twice about it. The police will be glad to come out and help us. You always want to approach with 2 people, as I said. You want to listen. You want to get them away from the audience, but you want to listen. Let them know, because I was actually in a situation where there's a fight. And I was chatting, and all that person wanted was to know that he had a voice. And he talked to me for about 10 minutes. And after that, everything was fine for the rest of the night. He just needed to know that he mattered. I was empathetic. I wasn't sympathetic. I just said, I can understand it must be frustrating and blah, blah, blah. I was sincere and I was genuine, because you will come out fake if you are pretending. And, and like they say, using the I statements. Oh, I can see that you seem upset. Do you want to talk to me about that? So do that. This is a little short thing called check. You want to keep an appropriate distance. You want your hands down. Please don't talk to somebody like that. I'm guilty of that sometimes because I'm cold, but try not to. Try to keep your hands, don't put your hands in your pocket. You want to be slow. You want to keep your voice, and you want calm, and you want eye contact. You want to look at them. You don't want to be because they want to feel valued. Next. As I said, with your voice, if they're talking really loud and you keep your voice calm, they will eventually come down to your voice. You want to be slow and steady. Don't speak fast. I'm guilty of that. And here's just an idea like, hi, my name is Donnie. What is yours? Just start talking, just having conversations. Like you said, don't be afraid to say, hey, you look upset, and do open-ended questions. And I'm sure all of you are familiar, but just in case, in other words, are you angry? you don't want to say, you look upset, tell me what's going on. You know, can you, things like that. So it opens it up for them to talk. Make sure you don't ask questions that just require yes or no. And again, same thing, I'm going to go past that. And then security protocol to our guests when they get upset is don't ever turn your back on them. Please don't do that. Do back away from them. Just say, it looks like you're really upset. Let me go get the shelter manager. I'm going to go get them. They're probably better experienced at this than me. I'll be right back. Okay, so do that. And, and then we're going to determine whether 911 needs to be called or not. When to call for assistance, there is a thing called CIT as a crisis intervention team. And there are police officers that have been trained in that. I have used them multiple times. They come and they talk to the person and it's like they say the same flipping thing I said and they calm them right down. I'm like, really? And it's like, but it's because it's a third party and it's just a different person and they just listen to them. And it resolved the situation. The whole idea is why we call them instead of just any police officer is because we don't want them to have to go to jail. They're going to go to jail and sit in a cell all night because they threatened us or whatever. But yet at the same time, it was just, they just needed somebody to talk them down and I couldn't do it. So that's what that does. A lot of times they wind up leaving and the guest stays and we're all good for the night. But when they become violent, it's time to call the police. And once they leave and they're violent, like if they're just screaming and obnoxious, they leave for the night, they can come back the next night. But if they do something where we determine they need to be banned, they won't be back for the season. And then also if they appear disoriented, sometimes we had someone who was, I can't remember what they had, was a diabetic or epileptic, I can't remember, but they were very disoriented. And oh no, they were very disoriented. They wound up having a, what do you call it? Aneurysm, where your brain, bleeding in the brain. Yeah, and so it was like, yeah, they just became very disoriented. And the shelter manager happened to have medical experience and knew there was something wrong and called right away. So that was good. Overcapacity is something we don't talk about a lot. We allow 25 guests a night. Sometimes we can accept up to 27, maybe not this year. But we can also accept up to 40 in a week. So you're like, what? Okay, so the first night you have 25. The second night, you have the same 25. The third night, 10 people don't show up and you have 10 more. That's 35 different guests. The next night, you have 10 new guests. That's 45. We only have 40 beddings. So once we get to 40 guests in a week, then we have issues. We don't have any room. So you think, but there's only 17 people here. What we have done is we'll get up with the key leader. I have done it myself. I've taken laundry home and I've done the laundry to bring it back so that there's more laundry bags for the people because it was snow and sleet and it was called for the next couple of days. So we can do that sometimes, but that's what we mean by 40 or 25. So when you come in, you say, hey, how's it going? Is it close to capacity? Yep, it sure is. What we do with that is the people who were there the night before have guaranteed. So we already know that's max 25. So if everybody that was there comes in, that particular guest that's new, we won't have a place for them. So what we do is we go ahead and check them in and we take their bags and just put their name on it. We don't give them a number or anything. They can go ahead and have a meal, but we let them know that they have to wait till 7:30. At 7:30, if the people who have not already been here, if they have not shown up, they've lost their place and that person will take their place. So then that's how they do that. Now, in the event that that doesn't happen and we just don't have a place, we have agencies that we put into place. The shelter manager is aware of that, and they will start calling and doing the overcapacity protocol. But during that time, so I want you guys to know what's going on so that if the guests is starting to go, well, what, you're going to just kick me out? You know that there's a procedure involved and they're going to get fed and you can give them that reassurance because this is all happening at 6 o'clock and we don't know anything till 7:30. So you understand that we're never going to just kick somebody out and say, sorry, too bad, unless we have tried everything and there's just no room at the end for anybody. Normally, if worse comes to worse, what we'll do is COFM has a fund set aside that we'll put them in the hotel for the night and then let them know they have to see someone in the morning. We don't advertise that, so please don't advertise it. The reason being is guess who's going to always show up late? So they think they're getting a hotel. It only happens once. And then the next night, they don't get another hotel. So we don't even want them to know it because we don't want to start that habit. So that's our overcapacity plan. And that's it. So are there any questions? Any questions with Zoom or any questions here? Okay, we're going to take the Zoom. Just bear with me, Kathy. We'll take the Zoom. Can you say that one more time? Okay, question is should there be a volunteer in the bathroom with every guest? No. Okay, I don't know. How many people want that audience when they're peeing? Okay, yeah, not me neither. Okay, let's give them some dignity. But thank you for asking the question, whoever did, because here's the policy. How many people are allowed in the bathroom at one time? One. Can there be more than one? Ever? Not true. Okay, and so I'm glad this question was asked. In the event that a church has 5 stalls and it's 6 in the morning, there's a lot of people that got to go potty. If you knock at the door and say, hey, there's somebody else who needs to use the bathroom, are you okay? And they say, yeah, I'm fine. Now how many people can be in the bathroom? 2. Can there be more than 2? No. Okay, that's the one time where you stop it. You go, no, I can't have any more. Because what if there's somebody that's 2 of them are planning on ganging up on one person? So that's why you don't want that. So one-on-one, okay, you can listen in here and you can be outside the bathroom area, but no, please don't go in while they're in there. Any other questions? Yes, Kathy.
Usually, when you have a bag, we hold the bag open. We would hold the bag open. People down, put everything.
Correct.
Well.
So that the question was, are we having to hold the bags open? No, that is the one thing we have done away with. We are not doing that. What the security does is they are handing a black bag to the guest. And the guest and it's at 6 o'clock and we don't check in until 6:30. So from 6 to 6:30, that guest has time to go through his backpack, do whatever. And then when he comes to check in, he's bagged all his stuff. So all he's doing is when he comes up to the shelter manager is they're looking through the clear bag to see if the security has already looked. So it should be the security's already said, hey, you're not going to be able to bring that in. Get that out of there. But in the event security missed it, then the shelter manager is going to catch it. You're welcome. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I didn't hear the second part. I heard about the why. I mean, I heard it, I just couldn't understand it. Sorry. Yeah, I got that part, but what was the second part? Okay, very good, great. So great question. The question was, do we offer transportation to the Y or other places inside to keep them warm? No, we do not. What we do is every night from 7:30 to 8:30, we will have a volunteer, and I corrected that in my timeline because I neglected to put it in there. And so from 7:30 to 8:30, we give out bus passes. Those bus passes is for all day. So they can do that. The other thing about the showers at the Y, it's when a church site does not have showers and they sign up. But the important thing is for the key leader, not the security, but the key leader is to make sure of when the bus line runs for theirs. So in other words, if the bus doesn't even get there till 7:15, you're not going to sign anybody up for a 6 a.m. shower unless they have their own vehicle. So because there has to be a volunteer at the Y with their towels because the Y doesn't provide the towels. So there has to be someone. So we want to make sure that when they're at the Y, that they're there for a reason, the volunteer. So you'd want to do that. So then that person, whoever the guest is, that bus ticket, they can get back and forth on the bus all day long. It's an all-day pass. Any other questions? Yes. WADA is running? Yeah, so WADA, the question was, is WADA running the bus schedule? Yes, WADA is running a regular thing, but great question. Some of our sites are not even on the bus route. They're kind of close, but not quite. So WADA has been wonderful with me, working with me. I send them the schedule, they look at it, and they determine what they can do to adjust the schedule, and they adjust where the bus is going to go, and they set it. Sometimes they set up temporary stops so that it's as close as possible to the host site. And yours is one. Right, and I thought I sent that to you already. I'll send it again, because I did send. Yeah, I'll send it again. So there's like 6 different ones they adjusted. Any other questions? No? Well, guys, I hope it's 8 o'clock. I had said 6:30 to 8, so I tried my best to keep it so that I didn't waste anybody's time. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any additional questions, you can do info@cofm.info. That's a quick and easy one, or get up with your key leader. But thank you so much for attending. Thanks, Bob. I don't know how to turn this thing.
I could do temperatures and health checks. I mean, I could come in a couple hours in